Yup, it's Famicom. Today I figured that I would show off some of my Ebisu, Yoshikazu Ebisu, the king, one of the kings of heta-uma, in my opinion, because of the recent release and reprinting of some of his works in English. So this here is I Want to Be Stupid, or I Wish I Was Stupid, and this here is The Pits of Hell, or in Japanese, it's more translated to the Teacher's Damned to the Pits of Hell. So Breakdown Press had initially released this one first in English, titled Pits of Hell, and that's also getting a reprint, which is great, amazing for any fans of Ebisu out there. I actually missed out on the English version when it came out, but yeah, this is the first one that came out. I'm not entirely sure when it was, but translated by Ryan Holmberg with an essay on Ebisu inside it. And this is one of the, because I feel like these two books here are from the most iconic era of Ebisu, who was contributing stories in Garo in around like 70s and 80s. And he still actually has some stuff that he's putting out now in Acts, which they aren't full stories, but I do have some examples that we can go through later. But yeah, Pits of Hell. This was also my very first read from Ebisu 2, I think, earlier this year. And immediately I fell in love with the stories, especially because, yes, it's heta-uma. I love heta-uma, but the stories themselves are absolutely crazy. Some of the stuff I will struggle to show because it's extremely vulgar, and there's a lot of like nudity going on, stuff like that. But a lot of things, well, I would describe his stories as being absurd. A lot of absurd tales about gambling, about family, about post-war Japan, all that type of stuff. And a lot of his stories do focus on the salaryman, or the average working man. For example, this one here is following, it's a very simple story, but it just follows a worker who has a really shitty boss. And eventually, he just cracks and beats the boss. After all his bullying, he retaliates and just pretty much kills him. The gore, sorry, not the gore, the violence in his stories are very much pronounced as well. But combined with his heta-uma style, it's a unique combination, I would say. Just this panel alone, this right-hand page, is pretty chilling because you got all these like police officers that came out of nowhere after he had killed his boss. But yeah, so just doing another flick through. This was actually my very first Ebisu story that I ever read. It was in a 1975 issue of Garo. This is titled Tired Employees, and it follows this CEO or businessman here who owns a sales company, and all of these people here are his employees, but they're very sleepy, they're very lazy, and they fall asleep whenever they can. So it's a whole story about how the owner, recounts his life, how he climbed up the ladder, and how big of a contrast he is to his employees. Here he is. That's his past selling brooms or something. And I do have to skip a little bit because there's a bit of violence that comes later. But he comes back to the office the next day and tries to lecture his employees. But he also cracks and hits one of them twice over here. But they immediately fall and die just from that tiny 2 punches that he gave. And so towards the end, you have like a news report saying, oh, there's like this whole epidemic of people dying from a very, very soft hair, that sort of thing. And so I actually might as well do it. I'll find the original Gara run of that story just to show what it looks like. 1975, correct. Here we go. Alright. This was actually one of the very first issues I read. This was the second Gara issue I've ever read. So it's a 1975 December issue 148, with a cover by Shinji Nagashima. So let's see who's in here. So we got an Anzai Mizumaru, Nagashima Shinji, Tsuge Tarao, anyone else? Ebisu, Kawasaki Yukio, Abe Shinichi. And so I'll just do a quick flip through. Nothing too much because I do want to get to the Ebisu chapter. You've got that some Tarao, more Tarao. Who's this by? Not too sure at the moment. But yeah, let's go over to the Ebisu chapter. There we go. That's our story right here, Tired Employees. Yeah, just to show what it looks like, this is when it was originally published, 1975, December. And Ebisu is more present from the 70s, I think mid-70s, early 70s onwards in Gara. But there you go. This is what it looks like in its original form. And by the way, if you've never owned a Gara issue before, they smell a little bit, but it's fine. Very much worth it, very much worth it. But yeah, I'll just do a little flick through the rest of it before I go back to Ebisu, because this episode is supposed to be on Ebisu and what I know about him, what I have. But yeah, there you go. So that's where the original story was serialized. So coming back to the Pits of Hell, what other stories do we have here? I've always got to check if I can show anything. This is a story about espers that try to rig a boat match, but since all of them do it, the boats don't move and they just collapse. Yeah, so overall, a very, very strong set of stories for the first English release of Ebisu, and also the first release that I've read from Ebisu himself. So this one here is the last story, the titular Pits of Hell, right? But very solid. Immediately after reading this, I was like, I need more. So after that, I picked up I Wish I Was Stupid, or I Wish I Was a Fool, etc., whatever you want to name it. This one is insane compared to Pits of Hell. The stories in here are like 10 times crazier, and I was not ready for that. Oh, now that I think about it, I made a mistake. Sorry, this is my bad. I actually read this one first. I read I Wish I Was Stupid first, and then got Pits of Hell. My bad, I just remembered it. But yeah, this is actually my first one. My bad. So here's the inside cover and the inside of under the dust jacket. But yeah, the stories in here, the reason why I'm so excited for the breakdown press release of this is because the stories up the antics a lot in this book here. So this very first story, it's like following a news reporter going around the city and reporting on its I'll just quickly show it. a little bit of some shite around. Can't really show too much. Yeah, it's a very short story that follows this reporter in a town, reporting on, you know, everything that happens. And of course the town is very what's the word, desolate, run down, that sort of thing. And keep in mind, this was my first exposure to Ebisu after the Garo issue. But what we have here is this man. He's going around and asking people, oh, do you want to buy my son or grandson for, I think that's 1,000 yen or something? Reporter's like, no. Goes around to other places. It's really weird, like bugs with human faces walking around. But one of the most chilling panels and pages I've seen in manga is when the father or grandfather here breaks down. He says, you stupid, you're useless, you can't do anything for me. And he burns the kid alive. So when I was reading this, I was like, wow, what an opener to the book. To this day, I still think about this. In my head, at least, the way I imagine it is this whole scene plays out quietly, and all you can hear is like the ball of the fire burning, and the kid just inside as he just disintegrates. But yeah, it's a crazy opening, and very fitting for color pages. The next story I cannot show because it's just full nudity. The story after that, it's even more nudity. Story after that is windmilling. If you don't know what windmilling is, you can search that up. Yeah, a lot of these stories are hard to show on YouTube, but here's another one without spoiling too much, because I do want, you know, if you are interested, please support Breakdown Press and buy some Ebisu so we can get more Ebisu in the future, and more heta-uma artists in the future in English. Yeah. I won't explain this, but out of context, this seems insane. A little boy, his son, in a cannon, trying to get through that hole. Very absurd stories, very absurd stories. Got another one here. A man being stopped by 100 homeless men. So I'm trying not to spoil too much of the stories, but if you've seen the actual cover of the English version, here it is. This is where it's from. A very fitting cover, I think. I was so surprised that they chose these two as the cover images, because it's a bold choice. It's a bold choice, but I highly respect that decision, and I really love that they went for that. This story here is it's really funny, to be honest. Yeah, I won't spoil too much. Yeah, sorry if I'm not explaining the story too much, but I do want to leave it for those who have been getting the English versions of this book. So yeah, that was I Wish I Was Stupid. So altogether, unfortunately, these two are the only Ebisu books that I have so far. I will get more in the future, I promise. But these two are his most famous and iconic tankobons anyways. This is actually a reprint. In the original Japanese, this is a reprint, so it was very popular. And I believe this cover, the cover design, was by King Terry. I believe he helped design this, like, you know, these floating cars. So collaboration between the heta-uma kings. I was looking at, like, I did a little post on heta-uma on my blog before, and I was like looking it up and stuff. And yeah, in terms of the propagation and like the start of heta-uma, what I found was that it's generally believed to be King Terry, Ebisu, and Takashi Nemoto, which I don't have any Nemoto books right now, but those three are considered to be the founders, or the first that were pushing the wave of heta-uma, because heta-uma wasn't really recognized as an official art movement. So that is a very interesting sort of area of research that I took, and you can find a lot of nice articles on it as well, which I can put later in the description. Okay, so you might be wondering, why do I have some of the latest Axe issues here? They don't look like they're Ebisu related. Well, this one does a little bit, and I'll show that a little bit later. We'll go through these later. But the reason why is because Ebisu actually has some new works in these new 2023 issues. So let's start with 151. This cover is by Akino Kondo, issue 151, and I bookmarked it here. But Ebisu is doing very short stories in collaboration with Takashi Nemoto. So if I go over here, there we go. So you can probably recognize Ebisu's style. They are very short stories and rougher, but I mean, that kind of makes sense. He's like, what, I don't know how old he is right now, but he is old. And he recently had his last exhibition this year, obviously in Japan. Jealous I didn't get to go to that because I am not in Japan. But yeah, this is some examples of oh, I do actually, is this Nemoto? Okay, I think I made a mistake. This might be Nemoto, and that's Ebisu here. Okay, that was my mistake. Yeah, this definitely looks more Ebisu. A lot simpler in the details. And then, oh, I've got to cover that. So yeah, it's only 4 pages, but they're just very short collaborations between Ebisu and Nemoto in some of the recent Axe issues. Here's another one. I'll show the table of contents. And got another one. So all the character designs are very Ebisu styled. I'm guessing we've got the Nemoto side and the Ebisu side. There you go. So yeah, technically still kind of active in making manga. And so now we'll come back to this artist here. So I know this is supposed to be, we started off with Ebisu, but unfortunately I don't have that much Ebisu with me at this moment. So I figured out, well, what reminds me of Ebisu? This mangaka here, this artist here. So their name is Kouichi Matsuda, and they contribute to Axe, and they also do illustrations as well. So I got pushed onto Matsuda by Sean because he had some of his books up. So these two here. So I bought these from Sean, and these are signed from here. So here we go, signed by Matsuda himself. All right, but yeah, bought these. This is Momoiro Junpo, I believe it's pronounced, and it's an art book by Matsuda. And what you'll notice is that the character designs feel very similar and reminiscent of Ebisu, except how I like to describe it is it feels like Ebisu, but more chaotic with the color schemes of Toshio Saeki. Like in my mind, that makes sense to me. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone else, but there is definitely a lot more going on in each piece than an Ebisu piece would have. More chaotic, more vibrant colors. Really love this art book. I think Sean still has some copies, so you can check them out. All of them are signed. But yeah, they are a more recent and upcoming artist, and they do put out stories in acts. Here's another one. I don't remember the name of this, but also by Matsuda. It's like a black and white illustration book / comics. So we've got like buildings growing out of people. There's also like a manga short in here as well. So yeah, this is, I just wanted to bring Matsuda up because it is, to me at least, and I think to a lot of people as well, reminiscent of Ebisu. And I saw pictures from the exhibition. I also follow Matsuda on IG. He actually attended and met Ebisu, so a very wholesome moment for him. There was like pictures online as well. Wait, he did the cover of this issue, and I'll find the story he contributed as well. Page 181. 181. Oh, there we go. Okay, here we go. From my memory, I'm trying to remember what this was about. I think it was, what was it about? Oh yeah, I didn't really understand this story, to be honest. It's about like an oasis that something to do with desires. I'm not too entirely sure. But yeah, it's like a snapshot of what Matsuda's manga looks like, which is very interesting. A modern version, reminiscent of Ebisu's style. And yeah, from what I've seen from the 2023 Axe issues, there have been a lot of Matsuda stories. I think he's like a pretty consistent contributor to Axe at this moment. But I'm trying to think, oh, there might be another. Yes, I actually do have another Ebisu thing. It's also an Axe volume, so just give me 1 second. It has a cover of Ebisu's work on it, which I have right here. There we go. Volume 113 of Axe, with the iconic head falling off the salaryman from Ebisu's English cover of Pits of Hell. So again, this is what the original or the reprint version of Pits of Hell looks like in Japanese. And then this here is the English version that Breakdown Press made for made in English, used this artwork as its cover, I believe. So yeah, that's where it comes from. So flicking open to this, there is an interview with Ebisu, of course. Here's a picture of him. To me, I find it so fascinating that Ebisu was like a personality on TV, Japanese TV. That just blows my mind, because my first exposure to him was his crazy, vulgar, decadent manga that features sex, violence, and everything in between. So knowing that he was on Japanese TV, it just blows my mind, because to me, no offense to Japanese TV, but extremely fabricated. It looks very, everything is like scripted. Everything's like, oh wow, reaction screens on the sides. I personally don't like Japanese TV too much, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, seeing him on Japanese TV, him who created the disgusting stories in Pits of Hell and I Wish I Was Stupid. Wow, what a contrast. What a contrast. But yeah, that's what I really find interesting about him. And I know he also had like a gambling addiction too. That was a big thing. I believe this is all covered in the essay within Pits of Hell, the English version, Ryan Holmberg's essay. Ebisu has also put out books that like recount his life and his addiction with gambling and his whole motto of, you know, gambling being a thing that everyone should partake in, I guess. I haven't read that yet, but yeah. So other than that, in this axe issue here, there isn't too much of Ebisu. They're normally just, you know, one short story and the interview. But yeah, this is the other Ebisu thing that I have. But overall, that is all I have for the Ebisu for today. But do not fear, because my Ebisu journey does not end there. There will be more Ebisu in the future, as whenever I do manage to get them. But yeah, I hope this can persuade anyone who was, you know, thinking or on the fence about getting the new breakdown press Ebisus to commit and actually get them, because you'll be reading stories that are insanely unique and iconic in the world of alternative manga, in the world of heta-uma especially as well. And for those who've never heard of Ebisu, I hope this video has put him on your radar, and hopefully in the future we can get more Ebisu and heta-uma in general. Alright guys, thanks. I'll see everyone next video. Bye.